So, racism in sports.
Yeah.
And I know you're a sportsman and you follow a lot of sports and you're quite knowledgeable about sports.
Yeah.
You hear all these stories, especially in football, about these racist antics. Is this a reflection on society, on the society we're living in?
Well, in a word, yeah. You know, racism in sport is something I'm really, really passionate about. Because, let's take, for instance, the attitude towards the England football team right now, and how they seem to be the flag waving paragons of racial equality. Now, if you remember back to the European Championships, which was about 2 years ago, the whipping boy for the team was Raheem Sterling. And he was out of form. But so was the rest of the team. They were all terrible. But the guy that really got it was Raheem. Then he went to Chelsea, and those guys, and there were people who were prosecuted for racially abusing him. Then he found form for England. And all of a sudden, everyone cares about racism, right? It's so hypocritical. When you look at the hierarchy of any and every sport, the sports that we're really good at, they're run by white people. And white people, sadly, or many white people, only care when it directly affects them. So when England win, white people care. When England lose, white people don't care. And we're the first people to be maligned if one of our players are underperforming. So even though I'm certainly not saying all white people are racist, I'm not saying the majority are racist either. I'm saying there's an important element that has so much power, and even if their racism is soft and it's microaggressions, it all makes a difference. And I think when you're looking at swimming or football, whatever it is, you need people sitting at the top table, saying we really do need to change things, and we need to be more inclusive, and we need to kind of make sure that the story is told properly. So, for instance, Eni Aluko, any story, it was basically that she didn't get on with the guy who ran the England ladies football team. And without getting into kind of the machinations of the story, when she had an issue with him and she realised she'd never play for England, she knew it was because of her relationship with this guy. And at no point did she make a charge of racial discrimination. At no point. She just said, we are not getting on, and so I know because of a clash of personality, I will never play for England again. She then got accused of playing the race card. Now, how you go from we don't get on to Eni's accusing this guy of being racist really gets to me. And when you look at the forums and Twitter and some of the things that are being said by someone who hasn't in any way used race as a reason, you then start to see what the attitude is like of the country. While we've been going through this whole Brexit thing, we've been able to see what people are really about. The mask has come down. I've even got Italian friends who are like, we can't believe how differently we've been treated ever since Brexit thing happened. And I've had to look at them to say, imagine what it must be like to be black. Because, you can hide. No one knows that you're Italian until you speak up. We walk around and we're black. And in many times in my life, even when I go into Sainsbury's, I know when I'm being followed around a store. So, the racist thing and the racism thing is still out there. It may not be as bad as it was in the 70s and 80s, but it's still there. And while it's still there, people of colour will be treated differently. Sometimes we'll be treated better because someone will say, you know, we're going to make an extra effort to make this person feel welcome. But outside of the major cities, you know, I would argue that it's going to be worse. You know, so when you do look at something like Brexit and you see how rabid people north of Watford are about not wanting, you know, people from other countries coming into the country. You know, you can see how, you know, you can see the truth of the people of this country, and it does bother me. But you know, I live in hope, and I have some great friends of all cultures and races, and like I said, you know, not all white people are racist, but you know, the few that are often hold important positions.
Soon Gone, Windrush Chronicles. I watched that. That's amazing because you were part of that, weren't you?
Well, I did the stills, and weirdly enough, when Lenny had Crucial Films, there was a set of monologues done 20 years before that for whatever the anniversary then, and I wrote one of the monologues for that. And one of the reasons for this Still Gone set of monologues, so there was, I think, 7 monologues going over 70 years. And one of the things that they wanted to do was show how the black experience has changed over years. So it's almost a case of, you know, the Windrush generation is dying out because, you know, we start off with a black woman, we end with a white girl whose great grandmother is a black woman. But along the way, there's been more people meeting English people, getting married, having children, and so what we're seeing is not eradicate's too strong a word. It doesn't quite say what it is, but being part of British society has meant that we are seeing less and less people from the Caribbean, certainly moving forward. So it was a very honest series about you know, coming to a new place, trying to find a place where you can call home, wanting to be part of a wider community. So, you know, once you get to sort of the 70s, in terms of any sort of racial identity and identifying with the Caribbean or with Caribbean food, that starts to shift. So you're getting people not wanting to eat ackee and saltfish, but wanting to eat, you know, fish and chips, and just showing how over time the culture has been ebbed away because, you know, people move forward and times change, and sadly along the way, you know, certainly with the story here, culture has changed and mutated into a new thing. So yes, it's a really interesting series.
I like how I say Sir Lenny Henry and you, it's just Lenny. So
you know what? I've known him. We've been friends since the early 90s. So you know, he's either Lenny or Len or him.
So about you. So what have we got to look forward to in the future?
Gosh. Now, I've spent the last couple of years working on a piece about morality and sport. So it's a show that it's a drama series that isn't about sport, but forces us to look at issues that have come up because of sport. So, for instance, how do you feel about transgender athletes?
Okay.
How do you feel about transgender athletes?
So some deep, sensitive subjects.
Exactly. So before it kicked off in the way it has now, I spent some time talking to friends and saying, how do you feel about, how would you feel if someone who was born a man wanted to become a woman? Everyone, to a man and a woman, would say, absolutely, I fully support that decision. And then I say, your daughter is a great tennis player. How do you feel about that person who's had a sex change playing against your daughter? And all of a sudden, their attitudes change. And it's like, well, that's not fair. Because my daughter's going to be facing somebody who has the bone density and strength of a man. And I'm like, but you just said 10 minutes ago that you're really happy with the decision that person who was born in the wrong body has made in order to become a woman. Oh, yeah, but that was before they were going to play tennis against my daughter. Mm-hmm. And so my series, even though that's not one of the things that we'd be doing, would look at societal issues, but through the prism of sport. And, because one of the great things about sport is you can be any race, any culture, and any age. Because even if you don't play sport anymore, you're probably a coach, or you've probably got a talented niece, nephew, son, or daughter who plays it. So in terms of who it encompasses everybody. But I would just use sport as a way round to kind of, look at issues, because it does offer the chance for us to tell diverse stories.
Do you think, as a society, we're ready for a lot of these subjects that you're talking about? Like, for instance, like football, the Premier Football share. I don't know of any gay footballer that's come out.
Well, there was Fashanu.
But that was, I'm talking about in current time, in today.
Well, the truth of the matter is, if somebody came out as gay right now, they would be, they would be seen as a hero. Because I don't know if you are familiar with Frank Ocean.
Yes, I am.
Right. So, hip hop is the most misogynist musical form that there is. There's no question about it. It's really, really misogynist. Homosexuality was frowned upon. Then Frank Ocean came along, and you've got prominent people going, "This guy's great," and then all of a sudden, the community embraces Frank, and rightly so. Because he should just be allowed to be Frank. And Frank Ocean is now a hero to the hip-hop community. And I think because there's been some great work, in our society, in terms of making sure that LGBTQ plus people are spoken with the same respect as everybody else, because there's been so much work. That if a footballer came out as gay today, it would be fine. For the first few games, every time that player touches the football, the crowd would all go ooh together, because that's what they did when Fashanu came out. So for a few weeks there might be a little bit of teasing, but after that it would be fine. I really believe it's time, because we all have gay friends. Many of our closest friends will be lesbian or gay. It's no biggie anymore. Yeah. So I do think society is ready for it. But obviously, it's easy for me as a straight man to say that.
Yeah,
we're not truly going to know until it actually happens.
Yeah. Carlton, I'm not a mad football supporter, but my family are, my friends and family are.
Okay.
And from what I can see, what I hear, what I know, football supporters are very unforgiving. Do you think they'll be understanding to something like that?
Right, okay. So, unforgiving and understanding are two different things. football fans really care about one thing, and that's winning. Right, so if you are an amazing footballer and you're gay and you can win a game, they'll love you. You know, if the opponents will hate you, and for the opponents, that will be the stick that they're going to try and use to beat the star striker with. Right, you know, because that's what you do. You try and find any reason that you can in order to take somebody else off their game. But as you know, but for home fans, if the player is playing well, who they sleep with has nothing to do with how the fans feel about them. I truly believe that.
Okay, so probably being a black gay footballer, some of the problems that we've been experiencing over the last few months, being a black gay footballer that could be a very interesting position to be in.
Oh no, it would be terrible. It would be terrible, you know, because you know when you look at footballers, when you look at black footballers or black sports people generally outside of the UK, the racial abuse that they get is incredible. You know, like, you know, back in the day there was I'm saying back in the day, maybe about 7 or 8 years ago, there was a situation where a black footballer was being racially abused in Sevilla, and the BBC sent somebody to Spain to go and watch a football match, and they went to a Real Madrid match, and I think it might have been, I don't know who Real Madrid was playing, but whoever they were playing, there were black players on the other team, and any time the black players touched the ball, the Madrid fans would racially abuse the hell out of this player. And the person from the BBC said, I was sitting beside some friends who are affluent middle-class people who were shouting racist abuse along with everybody else in the cheap seats. And he said, after the game, I said, you know, did you realise what you were doing? And they didn't. They saw it as just what is done. There's a black person, we racially abuse them. And it wasn't even seen as something that was bad. It was just something that they do. So racially abusing players, certainly, you know, back in the 70s, it would happen all the time here. In Europe, it still happens. And like I said, you know, if you add someone being gay to that, it just gives them even more fuel. But I think generally across the world, you know, homosexuality in sport is not the big deal it once was. I think it will. I can see it happen. Yeah, I honestly think it will. And you know, when you look at like the USA women's team, the woman who won the player of the tournament is an openly gay woman. A lot of that team are openly gay. You know, the United States is one of the most Christian nations in the world, and they found a way to accept it. You know, I'm sure if black footballers came out, or if black anybody came out as gay in certain Caribbean islands and certain African countries, you know, the situation in terms of their safety would be quite serious, because there's still a big religious component in those places. But you know, times are changing. Even if they're changing slowly in certain places, they are changing, and that's got to be a good thing.
Yeah, definitely. Carlton Dixon, thank you very, very much, and it's been a pleasure having you in the deep end with Accura.
Ed, it's been my pleasure. Good luck with everything, and you know, keep on fighting the good fight.
We'll do, and we'll keep in touch anyway.
Definitely.
Thank you very much.
All right, you
You're
take
a star. Care. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye-bye.